Well, in the cruel reality of the Arena World Championship, we've already sent 2 teams packing today, but I mean, as Arena fans, there can only be one winner, and I'm absolutely delighted as we head into the upper bracket. Now we have the teams that are so far undefeated entirely throughout the tournament, and obviously looking to go through 2 championships under their top 4 and ultimately win the tournament, the cup, for this weekend. I'm Healingstat, and I'll be hosting with Benruki, Supertease, and Zico on the desk for this one. It is going to be the move against Storm. Storm upset Method Orange on Wednesday. The move obviously have upset quite a lot of people. They're on a bit of an up and down this year. Didn't even qualify to the spring finals, but they're definitely on an upward trajectory right now. That Shadow Priest and the Rogue coming in, and most importantly, Absurge has swapped over to the Resto Druid.
Yeah, and we're going to see the blind pick come in here from Storm, going to be that Shadow Priest Destruction Warlock that we did kind of hear them talking about. Very confident so far in this matchup. The move, though, going to be running that Rogue Shadow Priest Resto Druid, Absturge, once again swapping off that Shaman, which is something that we've been wanting to see here. Let's see if they can get any pressure here in this opening.
Yep, so both the teams running the Shadow Priest, both the teams running the Restoration Druid. Both those classes have been quite popular lately, which I must say is pretty nice for me since I'm playing the Resto Druid and the Shadow Priest as my 2 main classes. Definitely can't wait to get on Monday, play more of my SP, because it's been a big theme throughout this weekend. Oz with his fantastic success in the midweek, taking down Method Orange. As we see the first set of Infernals coming out from Nozom, he'll be putting Absurge, I suppose, to the test for the first time in this game.
Yeah, and we did see a nice little double fear come out there, but I believe it broke there onto Metaphors. WizK ramping up some of that insanity, trying to get some pressure going. Oz as well entering Void form, looking to get some burst going, but not too much happening right yet. We see Nozom going for that double Mortal Coil. Chaos Bolt with a lot of cooldowns activated. This is big damage here onto WizK, onto Peekaboo as well, actually here. Caught up in the bash, but a nice silence from WizK should allow Absturge to stabilize here. Both Druids looking pretty even on mana, both of them using their Innovate as quickly as possible so they can regen that cooldown back, so they can kind of just be efficient throughout the fight. I like that from both of these Druids. Absturge so far doing a great job here.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's definitely starting to feel a little bit of pain. You can see his blue bar is moving ever so slightly. We don't expect either of these Restoration Druids to be put under too much stress prior to Dampening, though honestly, Storm actually having a fair bit of pressure. Peekaboo dropping low, has to trade out the Feint as he gets caught in the Rake Stun. Metaphors has been getting better and better on this Druid. You know, at the start we were very critical of him. He was taking a lot of hits from us on the desk, but he's definitely been putting his work in on the Restoration Druid. He completely re-rolled off of the Resto Shaman, hasn't touched that class in a very long time, certainly in the tournament scene, and he's looking pretty solid here. You know, he's getting his restarts, getting his drinks, and causing pressure, the move forced to retreat.
Yeah, and as you say that, he goes in for another Rake Stun here onto Peekaboo, and he doesn't get too much damage done in that Rake Stun, but that was on Peekaboo's kidney shot, which of course allows Nozom here to be free casting and force Peekaboo back behind that pillar. Peekaboo had to use his Cloak of Shadows on one of those Chaos Bolts a little bit earlier on, so he doesn't want to be too risky here, put Absturge too far behind on mana, so he's just going to go ahead and try to re-stealth or at least get his kidney shot cooldown back, but a nice preemptive Iron Bark there from Metaphors on that smoke bomb. But Nozom still using his trinket there, which is honestly showing the move a little bit too much respect there, in my opinion. Metaphors already pre-Iron Bark the smoke bomb, but look here, a lot of damage from WizK. Silence, can he combo it with the fear? He does land that full fear on the Metaphors. Nozom now in a little bit of trouble here. If WizK can get a couple of purges out, another kidney shot here. Metaphors though, coming out of that fear, should be able to stabilize Nozom for now. Nozom now activating his Dark Soul here, looking for some damage, looking to get the Shadow Fury, Chaos Bolt onto Absturge, I believe, but it gets Shadow Step kicked there by Peekaboo, waiting to get his kidney shot cooldown off DR once again here. Now looking to get some bleeds up onto Oz as well. Look at that. Now actually Metaphors here, big swap by the move, Adrian.
Yeah, this is where Peekaboo's at his best. He loves to just swap around, get pressure wherever he can. Metaphors dropping low, forced to trade out his Demonic Gateway, kite away. Peekaboo in hot pursuit though, he's chasing, he's hunting for the kill here. He's already forced out the Bark Skin and the Trinket. A good Mighty Bash from Metaphor should deny, though he is running toward WizK. Needs to be careful. Peekaboo looking for a cheeky re-stealth. If he's able to land that, he could potentially get a good opener, but he's going to go back over onto Nozem. Look at all these Infernals dropping left, right, and center from the Vision of Perfection Azerite Essence here. It's something that they have to be so mindful of on the move, because the Destro Warlock is such a threat. If they do swap over onto Metaphor too much, then Nozem, I mean, he could easily just land a kill.
Yeah, and basically if you're the move, the best case scenario is to just kind of have a decently high mana pool entering Dampening. If you can do that, then you're going to be in a pretty good situation. Peekaboo is therefore kind of just ducking in and out, kidney shotting whoever is close, seeing if he can get any openings, because Metaforce is always going to have the mana lead here. Playing in a double wizard composition just allows him to throw up his healing over time effects and then just go back and drink. He's playing very, very safe because he is that feral affinity as well. He can go for restyles. He might be going for one right now. Actually, he's going to go ahead and just throw out a couple of healing over time effects. Gets silenced here. Nozem now in a little bit of trouble. WizK activating that Void Form, looking to get some damage gone, but it looks like Metaforce is going to be able to deflect that with the Iron Bark for now. The move again resetting. Upsurge not being able to find any of these drinks, slowly withering down his mana bar for now.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the goal for Storm. Storm will get infinite resets in this game if they want it. Metaphor can spam, go for those drinks, those resets to get his mana back to full. Upsurge, meanwhile, he has to be very careful. Obviously, the essences help out a lot, and I'm just so happy that Upsurge has swapped over to the Restoration Druid. Previously for the move, you know, they always had the potential offensively, but they just needed the time. They need to be able to stack up to Dampening, and with Upsurge on that orange healer there, it is giving them the tools they needed to succeed in this tournament so far. We're starting to hit that Dampening mark now, 6% healing reduction for both sides to contend with. Nozem very stable at this moment in time. Metaphor's trinking out his blind on cooldown basically every single time that blind comes through. He trinkets fairly. Nozem with all his defensive cooldowns means that the move really do have to start making some offense happen, but they're just favoring defensive play right now, both WizK and Peekaboo at the pillar.
Yeah, they just want to hold on to as much mana as possible. When they have the Vendetta, when they have the Silence, then they can go for big pushes here. Nozem again caught up in a kidney shot, and I actually really think the move is going to be able to take this game based on what we've been seeing so far, because I don't see any like real opening here for Storm other than tapping out Upsurge and kind of getting into a chokehold situation, similar to what we saw Cloud9 do against Method Orange last game. But I just don't see that happening, knowing that Peekaboo is an assassination rogue who has a Mortal Strike effect, and on the flip side, I see a clear win condition here for the move where they go, they kidney shot Nozem, they dispel all of his healing over time effects with WizK, they get a silence onto Metaforce, and then, you know, if they combo that with a Vanish, Sheep Shot, or, you know, Upsurge pushes in and gets a bash, maybe into a Cyclone, I can definitely see them taking down Nozem. I mean, even now, without Peekaboo being on target, just standing next to the pillar, keeping up the Poison Knife, they're managing to get a significant amount of pressure here. Just keep WizK's dots up, spam Purge, and then go for a silence play, and that's going to generate pressure deeper into Dampening. That's going to land them a kill. So what the move is doing is really, really good. The main thing that they can lose on is that mana. So Absol just needs to do a good job holding on to his mana bar. We see the Iron Bark actually from Metaforce being activated here. Metaforce dropping low on mana. Nozem has his Dark Soul active, looking to get a few big Chaos Bolts. For now, the kidney shot was shutting him down. Oz and Nozem needs to get a big burst on Peekaboo or WizK so they can force him back. It looks like Nozem might just go down here. That's his unending resolve.
Yeah, I didn't actually like that play from Metaphor. He sat down for a drink there. He got about 20% of his mana back, but surely it's not worth trading for the Unending Resolve. Now they won't have that available for Vendetta. This is falling apart here for Storm. Like you say, Z, there's just no openings here. They don't seem to be able to find anything. Upsurge even was able to sit down for a little drink in the midst of all that, and it's just looking better and better for the move. Peekaboo, he has to play it careful, of course. As Dampening starts to stack up, it's going to be difficult for him, but WizK can just sit on the pillar. Upsurge as well. Both of them just kind of sit back, deny any dots coming in from Oz, and eventually that Assassination Rogue plus the Spam Purge, we've seen it time and time again against these Destruction Warlocks, will be enough damage to land the kill. 20% Dampening right now. Metaphor is going for a reset, resetting his mana to full, but the big story here is that that's the Iron Bark, there's no Unending Resolve, and Vendetta's coming up in about 30 seconds here, Z.
Yeah, and that was a Iron Bark on the Silence. I would have actually maybe liked to see WizK hold on to it. He's going for the Silence into full Fear combination. Metaphor gets the bash, Bear Form, gets the full fear there from Whiskey, trinketing out of that bash. And here, if the Vendetta was ready here, Nozom would just go down. But I think Nozom might actually just go down regardless of that in about 20 or so seconds from now. When that Vendetta comes back up, the silence rotating back up, I could easily see a kill happen here onto Nozom. Peekaboo also has his blind ready, so he could look to force out Metaphor's trinket. But right now, Oz doing a huge amount of damage here. Nozom as well is going to have his Infernals back up in about 49 seconds. They need the pressure here on the side of Storm to keep the move at bay, stop them from actually going. And here, Peekaboo actually goes for the kidney shot. Whiskey, though, spell locked, not going to be able to assist him in that. They do, however, force out that life grip. Might have not been needed there by Oz. Now, the next kidney shot, they're not really going to have too much defense on the side of Storm, but that Ironbark has rotated back up as an answer for the Vendetta. Nozom still does have his trinket, and then the Resolve coming back up as well in about a minute. So defense is rotating back up for the side of Storm, and the move, they need to go now. They need to go and look for that kidney shot. There it is. Blind onto Metaphors. Is he going to sit that? No, he trinkets out. No Ironbark committed just yet, though, and it looks like Whiskey is not going to commit his silence either. They're just going to go ahead and pull back to the pillar once again on the side of the move.
Yeah, I think that was a good read from Metaphor. I respect trading out the trinket on the blind, because if you fall behind at this stage of dampening, it can definitely be scary, but equally doesn't trade out the Ironbark too early. I think Peekaboo was trying to bait that one a little bit there. This is something that Peekaboo will do. He likes to play this really fast-paced game, swap around a lot, put his bleeds up, make you confused as the healer. It's very difficult to play into him. I know from personal experience, you know, you've got to read him very, very well, because he will be very tricky on this rogue, but so far Metaphor's done a good job. We see another kidney shot over onto Nozom. Maybe he's getting a little bit close here. He's actually enabling WizK to do damage to him whilst also line of sighting Oz. I don't think that this kind of pincer maneuver is always worthwhile against the Assassination Rogue, because now they basically set up a situation where Oz is the one out the game. He's crowd controlled in a route right now. Meanwhile, the mover getting a 3v1 essentially over onto Nozom. He's dropping very low. Ironbark forced out. This is the Vendetta and the Void Form. Even the Smoke Bomb coming in since Nozom used his Racial there. Unable to trinket for 20 seconds. Huge damage coming in. Metaphor spamming out the Nourish. There's no crowd control, but can they just burst through? We're at 40% dampening here. The Unending Resolve is forced, and that is huge for the move.
Big Chaos Bolt from Nozom there onto Absturge. He's going to go ahead and deflect with his trinket, with his Barks, and with his Ironbark, with everything here. We see another silence here onto Nozom, and another full kidney shot here. Peekaboo trinketing out of his CC to get that one. A lot of damage being committed here. Concentrated Flames are flying in as well onto Nozom, and now we can see Nozom again going for that summon of his pet that did go down in the midst of things, going for another Chaos Bolt here onto Peekaboo. Peekaboo does have his feint activated, however, so he should be fine for now. Another Chaos Bolt coming out of that Mortal Coil right there, and now we see Absturge and the whole entirety of the move kind of just go ahead and regroup behind that pillar. But that was a lot of cooldowns exchanged on both sides here. We saw Peekaboo drop the Smoke Bomb, we saw the Vampiric Embrace, we saw Unending Resolve as well from Nozom, so they just need to find that win condition here. There it is. Okay, so that is the Ironbark. If they can go through this, if they have another silence, they could potentially just take the game here, Adrian. 44% dampening.
Yeah, 44% dampening. It appears even the move aren't immune to dampening right now, but they're trying to spin it in their favor here. Peekaboo with that Vendetta coming up in about 30 seconds. Currently no answers available on the side of Storm. Even the mana starting to even out, potentially moving in favor of the move here with that Assassination Rogue. Ironbark comes out from Absurge here to deny some of this damage. This is a lot of cooldowns coming in here from Storm offensively. It's the Void Form. There's two Infernals that come down, one after another for Nozom. Both procs, neither the actual Infernal, which you can see is coming up in about 20 seconds. We're at almost 50% dampening. It's starting to get really tough for the move, and they've got to be careful here, because if they get pinned against the pillar, similar to what we saw from Method Orange, then they're going to have a real tough time moving forward in this game. Nozom sitting back. He recognizes his win condition is to just avoid death, keep working down Absurge's mana, because he's really starting to feel the pain at this stage.
Yeah, and I'm not sure actually what Whiskey trinketed there behind that pillar, but he's not going to have his trinket available right now. The Vampiric Embrace as well, trying to help out Absturge and healing up. And Absturge actually sitting down for a drink. Whiskey now trying to kill the pet as well. And Absturge actually got his stealth off there. You can see the pet swap target. That means that the pet can't see Absturge, even though we can. And there's a Cataclysm as well. I think he did get a decent amount of mana there. Nice kidney shot here onto Oz. It looks like the move. No, they just want wanted to kind of just limit the amount of damage while Abster is drinking. Kind of a defensive kidney shot there by Peekaboo here at 53% dampening, looking to push in and see what he can do here. Nozom is going to have his unending resolve. There's one more kidney shot before Nozom is going to have his unending resolve. There's no Iron Bark right now. Small window of opportunity, but we've seen the move take these windows and run with them. Now Peekaboo is making his way down. Unending resolve in 5 seconds. Whiskey has a silence available as well. This could potentially be big cooldowns forced here. Either life swap or the unending resolve. There it is, full silence onto Metaforce. Metaforce making his way towards Absters to stop the drink. Absters now should be pushing in, looking for a bash. He's not going to go for it. Instead, he's going to be completely separate from his teams. The Infernals have been dropped here by Nozom. Now Peekaboo and Whiskey taking a lot of damage. Absterge looking to get a re-stealth off so he can sneak over to his teammates, but he can't find it. That Fell Hunter making it really hard for him. But Nozom still just taking so much damage. Metaforce is really struggling to keep him alive at this point.
Yeah, I have to say this is one of the first times we've seen the move have to try play from this sort of situation where they're just kind of playing for deep dampening. So I have to see how much experience they have trying to set it up. It looks like Peekaboo's doing a good job just kind of rotating his dots around both players, just generating as much pressure as possible. Kidney shot, triple trinket forced out by the move. Incredible stuff coming in from the team. This is the smoke bomb, no healing incoming over onto Nozom. He's in trouble, he's kicked, has to use the unending resolve, but it's so late in the game. Absurge is struggling as well. Both teams dropping low, 62% dampening. Zico, this is the moment we were waiting for.
Peekaboo getting that kidney shot on the unending resolve. No answer available for Storm. What are you going to do, Nozom? He goes for the Shadow Fury. Doesn't go for it on Peekaboo though. Gets a full fear. Peekaboo gets dispelled. Lands a nice kick there on the Chaos Bolt. Nice silence here onto Metaphor. Surely there is nothing he can do at this point. Now Peekaboo swapping over to Oz, getting that dispersion immediately out of the way. There is the Void Shift still, last line of defense, and now we can see Oz using his leap of faith, trying to get Nozom back to a decent amount of HP. The Void Shift was used there as well. We can see Metaforce with that Iron Bark, 66% dampening. Metaforce, what are you going to do to keep these people alive? Chaos Bolt comes out onto Whiskey, immediately uses his Vampiric Embrace to counter that, and Peekaboo looks like he's just going to go for a double kill here. Nozom and Oz
it's perfect double kill.
Perfectly set up double kill right there. Oh my goodness, the move takes game number 1.
Yeah, absolutely incredible stuff coming from the move. Even Absturge at the end was getting aggressive in that kitty cat form. The man of the year combined with the man of the pounce there from Absturge. Absolutely incredible stuff. And I mean, that game looked really one-sided, I'll be honest. Almost every single time we watch the move, we're like, oh, there's no way they win this. Then they do. Here, they were in a commanding position. They played to dampening, as every other team has been kind of doing that we've seen succeeding so far, barring Zuniaki yesterday, and they pull through with a great victory.
I mean, the thing is, this is a matchup where both teams are trying to, well, they're not trying to, the game is just extending to a deep portion dampening. Then one team has an assassination rogue with the healing reduction coming in from wound poison, as well as, you know, deadly poison, rupture, garrote that Peekaboo was able to put on multiple targets. You can see him bouncing around onto Oz, onto Nozom, just creating all this split pressure with the damage that WizK is able to do. And you can see WizK and Absurge, they can sit behind at the pillar, whereas Nozom and Oz, they have to stay in the open. Peekaboo, I feel like, is a target that they might have wanted to consider pressuring down a little bit more. It's just really difficult to take down an assassination rogue. You can see on the side of the move, Peekaboo, he still has his Cloak of Shadows. WizK, he still has the Void Shift. It's really difficult for Storm to get too much rolling. I mean, they got to 68% dampening. Yeah. At that point, really anything can happen, but it just seems like as the game extends, the move starts developing more and more of a lead.
Yeah, and I mean, bear in mind, this is an upper bracket game. These are two teams that normally we see kind of struggling down in lower. They've both had a fantastic tournament so far. The winner of this is guaranteed top 3 in the tournament, which would be huge for either of these teams, but especially the move here said, like, they've been one of these teams that they didn't qualify to the spring finals. They need a top 4 in summer, and if they can keep playing like this, it's looking like they may well take it.
Yeah, the Blood of the Enemy and the Unbound Force, the essences that WizK was running, all granting him effectively critical strike, something revolving around critical strike, which is very effective with the shadowy apparitions.
I love it.
Allowing him to get a good combination of those new essences and support the playstyle of his team, just creating a bunch of consistent pressure for Peekaboo to bounce around, like you said, and be able to find the most vulnerable target at any given time. Oz was not running those essences, so maybe we see him switch to that to maximize his damage. Similarly to WizK, I think you've got the meter closer to you. Maybe you could share whether or not WizK did actually end up out damaging Oz or not, and by what margin?
Not that much.
Not as much as you'd expect.
8%
But,
or something.
I mean, you got to bear in mind as well, Oz is basically free casting the entire game, the way the game's going, right? It's hard for him to connect to people because they're behind the pillar, but since they're not really targeting him too much, he's able to get his damage out pretty effectively.
Seems like the build may not be the main contributing factor. Metaphors is actually running, I'm not sure if he just made a mistake or he knows something that no other druid knows, because no other druid is doing this. He's running the Ever-Rising Tide as his main essence, not the minor essence. So he gets the ability to pause his mana regeneration, increase his healing by an amount for a little period of time, rather than running the Memory of Lucid Dreams, which is just old school innervate. You get more mana regeneration for a couple of seconds. Realizing maybe that you as a druid don't actually, like, it's like too much mana, like you don't actually have to run, like, you don't need 3 things that give you mana back. So maybe Metaphors calculated that and said, all right, I can drop this and get more healing instead and still not run out of mana. So maybe actually Metaphors is min-maxing better than the other druids who are just opting for all 3 options that give mana back.
What in the world?
Yeah, that is an interesting point I want to say, because Metaphors was able to spam drink, but I think we've got to address the elephant in the room here, because Storm clearly don't fancy their chance on the Shadow play. I think that's fair enough, considering the last game, Oz is coming in on a Retribution Paladin, and we talked about this comp a little bit because Zuniaki was running it in Europe. What do we think of the pick? Because Oz just plays everything, seemingly.
I guess so. I mean, Sheep God, I thought he was a mage, or he played a little bit of Shadow Priest, but I guess he's an Arms Warrior as well. I mean, this is a cleave setup. Obviously, Retribution Paladins, they did get a few buffs, I believe, so it could be strong. I mean, you think about what would be good against a Shadow Priest. In theory, at least in the past, it would be really strong melee, an Arms Warrior, Retribution Paladin. You have high uptime on that Shadow Priest. I just don't know if that actually works out in practice anymore. I'm not convinced that this is a counter coming in from Storm. I feel like the move still have a really solid chance in this matchup, but maybe Storm knows something that we don't.
You're shaking your head, Z?
Yeah, I agree with Van. I was shaking my
No
head
chance?
that they don't know something we don't.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I feel like this is the first game that could end before Dampening today, and Storm's going to get owned.
Yeah.
I think this is what I think.
Let's hear it.
Death Knight is really good into Shadow Priests.
Okay.
Into Priest period. And this is no Death Knight, so I think Oz is going to die. Or
you did the math.
Significant less amount of healing.
The thing is, Warriors are really good into Shadow Priest, right? So we know Oz plays Death Knight. Why not the Death Knight Warrior here? Like, TSG would probably be much more annoying for WizKid to deal with.
I would agree, because at least the DK would give the Warrior a bit more survivability. I feel like the Ret standing there casting heals that's not really going to happen. And I feel like the Warrior's already going to have uptime, so it's not like he needs the freedom from the Ret. I just don't see what the Ret is going to bring other than complete and utter devastation. The problem is healing is really, really high from Resto Druids with a lot of these new essences, so I'm not sure if the damage is going to be able to kill the Shadow Priest.
Did you say that a Red is going to bring complete and utter devastation? All right, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they bring usually, but I don't think that it's going to matter because Absterge is going to have so much healing to counter the devastation, and then there's not going to be any death strikes or necrotic strikes, which is the good stuff that the DK brings.
Yeah, we'll have to see. From the Wizards of Oz to the Vanguards of Oz, I suppose, coming in here on the Paladin. They're going to tunnel down WizK, but I mean, it's anyone's guess if it will work.
All right, let's see if the Retribution Paladin Arms Warrior works out for Storm. As much as we want to criticize it, it could end up doing the work that is required here. Otherwise, I think that Peekaboo and WizK are going to do an overwhelming amount of damage. That's the Retribution Paladin doesn't bring in the self-healing or percentage-based heals. Neither does the Arms Warrior, which we can already see is established with both members at around 50% health. Metaphor struggling to recover, manages to pick up Oz. Sheep God shortly afterwards. Sharpened Blade activated by Sheep God, looking to generate some pressure with that healing reduction effect towards WizK. Also cleaving down Peekaboo a little bit with the sweeping strikes. Definitely a two-pronged assault, but the Crimson Vial healing and the healing from the Shadow Priest's Leech Essence effect, sort of from doing damage and healing themselves, is proving to be more than enough for them to be stable. Oz doesn't have that luxury. Sheepgod doesn't have that luxury. Metaforce is crowd controlled and can't heal. 2 members are low on health. WizK is likely stripping down all of the heal over time effects from his opponents. Therefore, they are even further exposed. Metaforce finally out of crowd control, looking to pick his team up quickly. They actually switched to Absturge, trying to catch him off guard. Metaforce leading the charge. They actually do manage to bank a Void Shift. This was something that the move didn't look like they were ready for. Storm catch Absturge by surprise and bank a very important cooldown.
I can't help but feel like that was a major overreaction. I mean, Absturge still had his Iron Bark available, Safeguard had just proc, but I guess better safe than sorry. I think things are starting to kind of spiral out of control here for Storm. Sheepgod's low, already using the die by the sword. Like we kind of talked about, this may be the first game, I think today, that may not enter Dampening. Metaphor is now caught into a silence kidney shot onto Sheepgod. There's a lot of pressure here for the move. Oz could rot down. This could be the Divine Shield. Sheepgod could just fall. Metaphors definitely has to play catch-up at this point. Look at Absturge in the back. Solar Wrath, Solar Wrath, Solar Wrath. He's just spamming out damage to help out his team. That little bit of extra damage is definitely helpful, but look at the side of Storm. I mean, a cleave like this, you would expect to have a lot more pressure in this type of situation where they have a target like a Shadow Priest with high uptime, but unfortunately they're unable to find it. Divine Shield gets traded out by Oz. Maybe this is just one of those compositions they thought would work, but it doesn't look like it's really doing too much.
I think it's over at this point. Rallying Cry, triple Psychic Scream. Sheepgod looking like he's still alive. Blessing of Protection and Iron Bark buy him time. He stays in it. They go after Absturge. They got to kill him quick if they want to stay in this and put a point on the board, but it doesn't look like he's going down. He's going to be able to escape to safety in that bear form. Oz and Sheepgod are still low on health. Metaforce is almost completely out of mana. A significant impact having percentage-based healing on your team. The Ret Paladin and Warrior not bringing that, so this could just be it. There's no defense remaining. Silence, although Sanctuary was up, I believe Oz could have removed the silence and then Metaforce could have healed. So a bit of a blunder on the side of Storm. The move moved to match point.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of maybe is that they, I suppose Storm were trying to maybe test the new Resto Druid. Like if you're playing a melee cleave, especially with the burst damage of a Ret Paladin, maybe you can try to punish the inexperience of Absturge. But he was in my stream yesterday, he was talking to me and he was saying like, you know, I spend my entire day doing world quests on my Druid, doing the new raid on my Druid. Like this guy is fully invested in this Druid right now and he proves it. He played pretty solidly, I think, that game.
Yeah, Absturge, absolutely. I mean, we've had some questions in the past about his multi-classing ability, but even on the Paladin as well, he looked pretty solid. And I think that was one of the big kind of obstacles or hurdles that the move had over the year in general, was that Absturge just was always on that Resto Shaman, and you know, no one was really swapping around their comps too much. But all of a sudden, we see Absturge on this Druid, we see Absturge on this Pala, and results are following. They couldn't really do too much to take him down, and at this point in the game, you know, it's just a desperation move from Storm. They're running low on CDs. They're doing one final attempt here with the wings, but Absturge, you know, he still has a lot of cooldowns to rely on. He still has, you know, the Bark Skin right there activated, and WizK with the Vampiric Embrace as well. And at this point, you know, Storm has run out of time. They don't have the bubble. They don't have anything on that Ret Paladin. And, I mean, they have the Sanctuary, but you can't use it. You can use it on the silence, I suppose, there. A little bit of Oz inexperience, but other than that, I still would guess that he would go down there, but he could have sank that silence in the end.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a small mistake, but ultimately the game definitely going in favor of the move here. I'm almost wondering if Oz has some sort of quota he has to fill for the year, like how many classes we see him on. We've seen him on the Paladin, the DK, the SP, LE, like so many different things coming in from him. Some Resto Shaman as well, and Resto Druid, I think. So he's played a lot of different stuff here, but hey, the move are looking great, and they're looking like they want to go through to Championship Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, the move are on the cusp of one of their only Championship Sundays we've seen from them this year. They have been a team that's very much been struggling against the meta, but finally they seem to have found their groove here. If the meta won't change for them, they will change for the meta. Absturge on the Restoration Druid. WizK, I think a little bit of favor. We were thinking the Shadow Priest wouldn't be in meta. Seems to be very much. And of course, Peekaboo on his patented Assassination Rogue. They find themselves 2 up against Storm and 1 game away from a top 3 guaranteed finish finish in this cup, which would be absolutely huge for them. I'm Healingstat, and I'm hosting for you. Joining me, we have Benruki Supertees and Zico on the desk. And I mean, hey, we talked a lot about Storm, and one thing I do want to say, obviously, is that they are without... We'll have to talk about this instead, I suppose, because I think we're all very surprised by this. But I just wanted to say that Storm, you know, we saw them having a lot of success, but they were playing with Drake before. He obviously chose to step down on that Windwalker Monk. Now, without the Windwalker Monk, they're still trying to make cleave compositions work. But once again, Oz coming on the Retribution Paladin, and I mean, the instant reaction seemed to be negative on the desk.
I mean, yeah, that didn't work out at all.
Fair enough.
It didn't look good at all. I mean, maybe they...
I mean, to me, it's...
This is like, do you think this is one of those moments where, you know, sometimes as a team, you feel like you get a little bullheaded, you know what I mean? Like, you try to throw in this oddball composition, and they lose that game. To us, it looked like it was a complete nightmare. Maybe them, they're like, yo, if we just did this differently, if we just, you know, crowd controlled a little bit more, we could have easily won that game, but it didn't seem like the move was really in trouble. I mean, they forced out the Void Shift, which, of course, is a big deal, but I feel like they didn't need to use the Void Shift in that situation. Absterge had a lot of defensive cooldowns. That was really the only opening, the only big cooldown we saw Storm really force out. Maybe with the Shaman, the extra purges could help out, but it just seems like if they're going to run a cleave setup, why not bring in like an Unholy Death Knight, like you said. Unholy Death Knight, Arms Warrior, I think that's a lot more consistent damage, a lot more pressure. You don't have the two weaknesses then. The Death Knight, at least in the early stages of the game, can keep himself alive, and I feel like at this point Storm's kind of grasping at straws, but I mean, maybe they could make it work.
Yeah, I mean, they need to make it work, right? Like, they have to pull through here if they want to stay in the upper bracket. If they do drop down, I think it's definitely looking like that's a likely scenario here, but maybe they're just thinking they don't have better options, you know? Like, we would have talked in the past about Destruction Windwalker was the entire reason in Cup 2 that the move refused to play Shadow Priest into them. And I think they were playing, like, Demon Hunter Death Knight, which we didn't really like from them, but they don't have the Windwalker Destro anymore, and that is kind of one of the counters to the Shadow Priest.
Well,
yeah.
I was going to say, are we really going to question North America's ability to Zug?
Listen,
I mean, based on Game 2, I would say yes.
I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. I like being wrong every once in a while.
Yeah,
you know?
on occasion. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here.
If Storm can win this game and they just blow the move out of the water, I'll have a smile on my face. Okay, good job. You know, sheep god and metaphors, but I'm still just not convinced at this point that it's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us are. The move, though, I mean, I've been talking about them a lot, but this is really their cup right now. It's looking great for them. If they win this one, which is very likely, they'll move through to top 3. Currently, they're 6th on points, meaning that they're not standing, as it stands, they're not going to qualify to the summer finals. But here, with this victory, they would actually overtake Method Orange on points guaranteed by at least 20 points, which would be huge for them. And I think most likely, I haven't double-checked all the math, but based on outcomes of the tournament, they should guarantee top 4 in the overall standings, given how close it is right now, Z.
Yeah, I mean, this is the tournament to do it in. All the top 3 teams down, chilling in the lower bracket. Yep. You don't want to go there because you're going to have to play against them, and you don't want to go there because you want as much points as possible. So right now, things are looking good for the move and all the members in the chat of the move, of course. And about this comp, I already kind of expressed how I feel about, you know, DKs. I never really expressed how I feel about Shamans. I'm not a big fan of Shamans in general. I don't like, well, I like LA Shamans, but I don't like Resto Shaman that much. So this has got to be a complete all-in here from Storm, where they just target Absterge or WizK. I would like to see it on Absterge, to be honest, and just spam purge every global. The problem is, I could see the move doing the same thing, just under Oz and go after Metaphors, because there's no Pack Spirit. It's still there, but it got nerfed pretty significantly in the patch. So Pack Spirit is essentially one of the big things that allowed the rest of Shamans to stay in Ghost Wolf and just heal themselves. So that's going to be a big thing. That's going to allow the move also to just do the same thing to their healers. So not sure how I feel about the Shaman in general. What do you guys think?
I think it's kind of ironic. Like, I basically earlier when we casted our game, I was saying like Metaphor hasn't touched a shaman in the entire time. So of course he brings it out now to prove me wrong as well. But also, Absterge was the person who religiously stuck to that shaman, right? It was always Absterge. Metaphor was originally known as a shaman. Now he brings it out. Is he just trying to like remind us that he plays it, or I mean, maybe
this
the
game's
all-in's
gonna end even
potential.
faster than the last one now.
I wonder if Absterge is kind of just laughing, like, oh, he's walking a shaman. Okay,
He's so happy right now.
He's like, I played that. I know what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it works
Maybe
out.
they'll win.
I mean, I guess if you're going to all in with the Red Paladin, you might as well bring in the Shaman as well, because it is going to provide more offense.
I would bring in the Disc Priest.
Wait, can I ask, why are we convinced that Red Paladins are just this all-in wrecking ball? Because I don't think they are. Have we ever seen that happen? In, like,
well, their burst is definitely scary.
The burst, yeah, I mean, they do good burst, but when is it in a tournament do we see Red Paladins just run in and run over a team? It just never happens.
When in a tournament do we see a Red Paladin achieve much at all?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, is like, why rely
well, there must be a reason that they're picking it. They're not just picking it to meme, right?
Well, I think Red Paladin, they have that huge explosive burst. The problem is, if you don't do it, in the later stages of the game, then... we've been talking about Swiftman a lot today, and I mean, Swiftman is pretty good, so...
Swiftman,
Up all your CDs, you use your wings, you get in there, but even if the target doesn't have HOTS, one Swiftman, then he's gonna regain a lot of that HP.
I do have to say, one thing that criticism I had about Metaphor is he is the only druid right now who isn't actually running 2 Swiftmens. He ran every single one of those games, he ran the Cenarian Ward, which is kind of an old school talent. It's more throughput healing in the kind of gradual sense that you get an extra stack of your mastery. But we talked about, like, especially in deep dampening where you need burst healing, losing an entire charge of your Swiftmen, especially since I checked, he's running triple Grove Tending, which is the Azerite trait that does more healing when you Swiftmend. It seemed kind of crazy to me that he wasn't running that. It's like, I guess it's more mana efficient, but mana wasn't the problem for this team in any of the games. Metaphor always had like 50-60% mana, so I was a bit curious about that one, just since you were talking about Swiftmen in the first place. But yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, we're going to game 3 here.
Yeah, I mean, tournament, or actually not tournament lives on the line. Stormcell are going to have another chance in the lower bracket if they can't manage to win this game. I will say things are looking really good for the move. They're up 2-0, and I feel like Storm right now they're trying sort of an oddball composition. Maybe they could make it work, bring in the Restoration. At first you see, oh, a Retribution Paladin? What is this? We haven't seen that in a while. And then a Resto Shaman as well. It just doesn't feel like the most meta composition, but maybe they can make it work. The Arms Warrior, the Retribution Paladin, these guys are going to be able to put out a lot of damage. But the problem for me is if they don't have crowd control on Absurge, I just feel like he's going to be able to easily heal through it.
All right, let's see if the move can close this out. This is looking like the return for the move. I mean, this composition, to us at least in terms of analysis, makes absolutely no sense from Storm. Restoration Shaman is easily, I would say, the worst healer in the meta right now. Bringing in Arms Warrior, Ret Paladin, they don't really have a lot of self-healing against a Restoration Druid, Assassination Rogue, Shadow Priest. Maybe they can do it. Let's see if they can. Peekaboo's going to switch over to Metaphors. Sanctuary from Oz going to save him. Then Sheep God switching back to Peekaboo, looking to pressure him away from Metaphors. They play goalie for their healer, managing to force Peekaboo back, although Metaphors did have to exchange his guy's medallion earlier, and the Earthen Wall Totem now as well. Double stun combination here from Storm. Good pressure right now onto Peekaboo and WizK. Absurge, though, in a position far away from the fight, and he's easily healing through it. Metaphor swap 2 again, and remember, Pack Spirit, the Azerite trait for Shamans, was reduced significantly in patch 8.2, so Metaphors will not be able to rely on running around in Ghost Wolf to save himself. He's going to have to use Healing Wave and Healing Surge, which open him up to being interrupted. He fake casts the kick, but then gets silenced on the follow-up. Huge damage. Blessing of Protection buys Metaphors a couple of seconds to stay alive, but now there's still pressure on Sheep God. WizK pushes forward to dispel it. Chain Heal connects. Metaphor stays alive, but I think a couple more swaps like that, and it's going to be curtains for Storm.
I mean, it's certainly looking to be that way. And let's look at pressure for Storm. WizK taking a little bit of damage. He eats a Wind Shear. Actually forced into the Dispersion. Now there's no Iron Bark. There's no Dispersion. And look at Absurge's mana. He's at around 50% mana, so...
Oh!
He's actually having to use a lot. Metaphors gets Shadow Step kicked there by Peekaboo, as Peekaboo is looking to make the offensive push on Metaphors. Garrote Silence comes in. Metaphors really struggling. All 3 members rotting down. WizK and Peekaboo putting out massive damage. Metaphors trying to keep himself alive. Earthen Wall Totem drops out with the Ascendance. That's a massive heal. Storm completely stabilized off the back of those defensive cooldowns, but without those available, I feel like there is a storm of brewing, and it's definitely a storm in favor of the move.
All right, Metaphor's trying to rep the Shaman, trying to give the Shamans a win out there. If he can manage to do it, it would be quite impressive in the current meta. They do have a significant mana lead, so the pressure is substantial from Oz's Sheepgod, but equally so from WizK with 2 members low on health. Metaphor's Trinket's blind, that now opens up to a swap. He's going to need Oz to protect him with that Blessing of Sanctuary as soon as possible, but now they're all stacked up. Peekaboo goes after Sheepgod. They silence Metaphors. 3 members are low. They're looking for a triple. They got a double in game 1. They're looking for a triple in game number 3, but Peekaboo's overextended. He's caught in a stun. Now into a disarm. Metaphor's trying to get a chain heal. He's worried about an interrupt that isn't actually available. Needs to connect these chain heals. Chain heal definitely effective to heal through this damage output. Unless Metaphors are crowd controlled or interrupted on it, it's certainly efficient. I almost wonder if he should have gone for the Healing Rain Honor talent to dispel damage over time effects. Maybe that could have been quite potent against this Shadow Priest. Absterge is trying to drink. Metaphors is trying to snipe it with the Earthbind Totem. Throws the Totem over. Absterge repositions. I think WizK is just going to trade Void Shift maybe for the drink, but Absterge didn't get too much mana. They're still gunning down Metaphors. He's silenced up. He's going to use the Astral Shift. Gets a big chain heal.
Wow.
Big heal there. If there aren't interrupts, that is certainly a powerful heal. Perhaps Storm have potential here. Hammer of Justice on Peekaboo into a disarm. He's going to use evasion. Super effective against the Warrior and the Ret Paladin. They're going to have to switch targets to go after WizK instead. Bouncing over there for some time. Sanctuary available. I'm wondering how they're going to navigate through that. Maybe a Psychic Scream on Oz when they stun Metaphors. I feel like this would be the likely strategy, but instead silencing Metaphors and stunning the Warrior. They've done this now twice in a row. It's creating pressure on 2 targets. Peekaboo Shadow steps over for the interrupt. Sanctuary try and protect Metaphors, but Sheepgod is still low on health. This could be a die by the sword. Metaphor stunned on the next heal. Potentially silenced out with the Garrote, not able to find it. Triple Psychic Scream, good follow-up. 2 members are still low. Metaphors needs a chain heal as soon as possible. Goes for it with the Spirit Walker's Grace, is guaranteed to get it, but still only at half health. Absterge, I think, drank to full mana at this point, or at least very high. When he comes out of cat form, we'll know. Not that high, but Metaphors is in trouble. He's silenced. He's going to use the Dwarf Racial to remove the silence, but then is soaking up the Vampiric Touch Dispel. Does manage to get a chain heal. Now into the full kidney shot, no Sanctuary, no Trinket. Oz uses Divine Shield to break out of this crowd control chain to save Metaphors and also be aggressive towards Peekaboo. Perhaps bait the move to go after Oz instead. I think they have to kill Metaphors. That chain heal is quite powerful. But with this crowd control chain, they're looking to close it out. Interrupt into silence. Where's the stun? As soon as that stun is off cooldown, it could be the end of the match. Metaphors is going to pre-Astral Shift. Manages to catch it here right before the silence, absorbing a lot of damage, but now Oz has opened up himself to a swap. Sanctuary's off the kidney shot. Chain heal needs to connect. How many chain heals can they get? They use Psychic Scream to stop it. Metaphors needs more. There's no interrupt for 5. He gets another one. Connecting that. He is actually, I believe, running the chain heal, dispels damage over time effects. This is an interesting strategy from Metaphors overall. Definitely unique to the Restoration Shaman, that cleansing water. So every time chain heal heals, it has a chance to dispel off the damage over time effects of the Shadow Priest. It's actually, I would say, looking pretty solid. A lot better than I would have anticipated in this given matchup. There could still be potential for them to find victory here against the move.
Yeah, I mean, you have Metaphors dispelling off all the VPTs as well as the Shadow Word Pain, and then of course you have Oz dispelling off a lot of those poison effects. So in theory, I mean, this composition isn't too bad. I'm actually really surprised with how much healing Chain Heal is doing in this matchup. Metaphors, every time he gets one of these heals off, he just tops off his team. So it is impressive, but it just feels like the move has most of the pressure, most of the momentum. There hasn't really been any scary moments, whereas for Storm, it's been about barely keeping Metaphor alive consistently over and over and over. Metaphor, once again, looking for some heals. He's getting low in a full kidney shot. There's no Blessing of Sanctuary. There's no Trinket. I think they may have ran out of time. Metaphors could be in trouble. Blessing of Protection gets traded out by Oz. Metaphor's now looking for a chain heal. Big heals on his team. The move? I mean, if you look, Absterge's mana is getting low, but with some of the new essences, like we said, Absterge might be able to just hold on to 10-15% mana for quite a while. Kidney shot now on Oz. The move, making plays, trying to go after another member. Metaphor's in a full blind. Oz left all alone, looking for some heals, but he's caught into a silence. Is there any follow-up crowd control? No. Metaphors gets out of the blind. He manages to connect chain heal, keeps his team alive, and This still is not looking good, but maybe there's hope for Storm?
There's no blistering protection to deal with the Vendetta. Peekaboo drops Smoke Bomb on Metaphors. Oz can't support. He runs in, he stuns up Peekaboo. Absurge instantly dispels it. Peekaboo looks to close this out. He's got Kick coming up in 2 more seconds. Can Metaphors deal with the Kick? Absurge is lobbing in Solar Wrath, adding extra damage into the mix, and the move are going to overwhelm Storm in game number 3. A clean 3-0 for the move, and they advance to Championship Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, normally when we're sitting here on the desk, we're saying it's the move that's up against it, the move that has the impossible composition disadvantage. But here, where they seem to have the advantage, they have no sweat. They're able to pull through with the victory. And that's a clean 3-0 for the move, which a lot of the fans, a lot of those people you were prompting in chat to let us know they're the fans, will be happy to see, Zico.
Yep, all the members of the move, please do let us know. And this is it. The move, they make it to Championship Sunday. They're in the best seats in the house. They just have to play 1 upper final game, and they will be in the grand final. So the move guaranteed a top 3 finish at this point, which is fantastic for them because, like you mentioned, they definitely needed being, I believe, 6th on the overall points. If they can have a strong performance here, maybe make it to the grand finals, they're going to be in a lot better situation to qualify for summer finals, which, of course, is the pre-qualifier for BlizzCon. So the move, they had a rough year, just like last year, but things are looking better for them. And then here, of course, as well, they kind of withered through all of the cooldowns. I really like that Peekaboo went for the blind play on the Metaphors and went over to Oz. It generated a lot of pressure for them to end up getting the kill, even though it didn't get them the kill in that specific instance. Forced out a lot of CDs. They realized that you got the Blessing of Protection. Let's blind up the healer. He doesn't have Trinket. Let's go into Oz. He doesn't have his Divine Shield. And then we can go back onto Metaphors if it doesn't work out. Beautifully done by the move. 3-0.
Yep, beautiful 3-0 for the move, but Storm, I do want to spend a second talking about them because this really is slightly worrying. Yes, they won against Method Orange in a close 3-2 series during midweek, but without Drake, they're definitely losing some of those cleave options. They're losing the Destruction Windwalker, which we've seen be so successful for the boys as well. They're going to have to find their way through in the lower bracket. We will see them again later today, and we can have a look at that bracket right now. The move, as you said, Z, they have the best seats in the house for Championship Sunday tomorrow, so you'll want to be watching to see how they can do. They need a strong performance here. Top 3 is a very, very good start for them. And M2KC, who are also tied in that 5th, 6th spot right now in North America, will be up next in the upper bracket. But Storm, they're playing against the boys. Last time...